What's going on, guys? So, now I want to talk about my second investment property that I ever purchased. So, my first property I bought in Livermore, California. It was a primary residence. I basically house hacked it. I lived in the master bedroom, rented out the other rooms for about $1,000 each. And what happened was I got a job in San Francisco, and I couldn't make the commute anymore. It was an hour and a half each way. So what I did was I just started looking at houses in San Francisco and did the same process. So every weekend, I would just go to San Francisco with my mom, and we would just check out open houses. Fortunately, I had a aunt who was a realtor in San Francisco, so she can kind of show us the properties and kind of give us realistic expectations as to what to expect. And, I was very humbled when checking out homes in San Francisco. A lot of the homes, San Francisco is very tenant friendly. So if you're renting out to a protected tenant, which I believe it's like 10 years plus, they've been living in the same area, or they're disabled, like maybe they're blind or deaf or, in a wheelchair, then they're considered protected tenants. And what happens is when you sell a property with a protected tenant, the tenant comes with the property, right? So imagine buying a single family home, and let's say it's a three-bedroom house and two of the bedrooms are occupied by a protected tenant. So when you buy it, you inherit those two protected tenants, and you can only live in the master bedroom. So you have no privacy, right? It's like you're buying a house with some roommates already. So that was very shocking to me. So once kind of learning about that, I just wanted to buy vacant homes, right? So that I could have full control of the property. So what's kind of cool about San Francisco is a lot of times these single family homes are kind of like makeshift duplexes. So the house that I ended up purchasing, they had an upper unit which was three-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and then they had a lower basement unit that was 2 bedroom, 1 bath with a little kitchenette. So technically, since it's not a legal duplex, you can't have a legal kitchen down there, right? So you only have a sink. It's like a wet bar. You have a sink, and then you can put a stove in there. It wouldn't be legal if you did it, but or you can buy those like plug-in stovetop things that you can buy at Costco, I believe. So that's what I did. Right, I just bought this like stovetop plug-in stove and provide that to the tenant. So it's almost as if they had like their own, stovetop and whatnot. So, and what was nice about that second unit is it had its own private entrance, right? So they would enter through the side gate and then enter through these double doors. And then for the upper unit, you just walk up the stairs and enter the main door. So you had your own separate entrance, and it was nice, right? Essentially, it was almost like a duplex. I could rent out the whole bottom unit um, to a whole family, for example, and get more rent that way, right? And still maintain the privacy. So what I ended up doing is that I did the same thing. I bought the property. So I think this was probably the fifth property that I saw. I literally walked into the house. The moment I walked out, I told my aunt, who was my agent, to make an offer immediately. Right? So I think it was listed for $1.1 million. We offered $1.1 million. They accepted my offer in 3 days, and this was back in 2019. And then I had my other aunt. She's a loan officer for U.S. Bank, and I got this property for 10% down. Interest rate was 3.625%, and there was no PMI because at the time they had this program where you can do less than 20% down and pay no PMI. So so I had to down around 110,000 dollars, which I saved up from house hacking my last house. And I kept on moving up in terms of my career and getting paid more in my job. And so for $100,000 down, I basically got the property. I think the loan was around $1 million. It was a jumbo loan, and I did the same thing. I lived in the master bedroom. I had two bedrooms upstairs that I rented out for, I think it was a 1,200 each. So I was 2,400 upstairs, and then for the downstairs unit, since I was near San Francisco City College and SF State, then I rented out the bottom 2 bedroom, 1 bath to four college students for $700 each. So I got 2,800, and this included all utilities, right? Since it's not a legal duplex, I basically couldn't split the utilities, so I just basically paid all the water, the gas, electricity, um, as well as provide laundry units there. There was garage parking for myself. I had a driveway, so one tenant or renter could park there, and then the rest could park on the street. And that's common in San Francisco. And I was basically getting around what is that, 2,400 plus 2,800. That is 5,200 a month, and I think my total payment. I think my loan payment, my mortgage was around, I think it was 4,200. So, once again, I think I was only paying like maybe 1,500 bucks a month to basically live in a master bedroom in San Francisco. And like, once again, that was just going towards my principal pay down. So it was a forced savings account. So, I rented out two bedrooms. I was 29 at the time. I was still in that college mentality, didn't mind not having privacy. And then the downstairs unit tenants, I never saw them, to be honest. Like, they had their own entrance. I never really heard them. And the tenants would just kind of use the kitchen area, and then for the most part, just be in their rooms. They weren't home that often. I would choose tenants that weren't home that often, and once again, I subsidized rent, right? So I basically house hacked, and this time I learned my lesson. I down 10% to better leverage myself, and I don't even think I even had $200,000 to down at the time. So I basically got in, and my aunt, once again, she was my realtor, so she gave me like all her commission. She was just doing me a favor. And my other aunt was my loan officer, and she also gave me some lender credit. So it helped kind of reduce my down payment. And once again, I just advertised the rooms on Craigslist, and this time I learned about Facebook Market, which is the new Craigslist. And I was able to find some great tenants. They would come, show the room. I'd kind of like get to know them, feel if I would like living with them, and then I would check their bank statements, their credit score online, their pay stubs, or if they had a job offer, they showed me the job offer. Sometimes I'd have them just log into their bank account to show me how much they have. I just wanted to see that they had a decent reserve, so they can pay the rent. And they had renting at a prior place, then they would be ask for a landlord reference. But the two upstairs, they just graduate college. I think they just got their first job. So I just had them show me their job offer and their bank statements, and their credit score, and I was good with that. And for the college students living in the down lower unit, they would show me they all worked, kind of like at Starbucks or like Costco, and they would show me their pay stubs, their bank statements, and I had their parents co-sign them all, so each of them, to give myself insurance. And it was not bad, right? So here, once again, when you're house hacking, you always have to kind of take care of the property. The owner will always take the best care of the property. And I didn't mind doing that, once again, because I was getting money. I was getting the 5,200 a month. It was subsidizing my living expenses, and it would help me pay down my house. And for my old house, my first house in Livermore, I ended up having to rent out all the entire house to one family, because it was a lot easier. Because like the moment I left and I rented out each room by room, that's when the conflict started to happen. Unfortunately, once the landlord's gone, once the cop's gone, that's when people start inviting guests over, and other tenants will complain that they're messy, and they're inviting people over. So that's when all the issues happen. So I just said, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I just want to rent out the whole unit to a family, make it a lot easier for myself, not deal with any complaints. So that's kind of what I've learned in terms of house hacking. Like, if you're there and living there, it's okay. But if you try to room by the room and you're not there, there's more room for conflict. But there's other ways to mitigate that as well. And yeah, that's how I kind of scaled, right? So that was my goal initially. Like, I wanted to buy one single family home a year by doing this exact process. I would come in, down 10%, house hack for a year or two, and then move on to the next property, right? But then, like I said, it's not scalable. Like, both my single family homes, 800,000, 1.1 million. The apartments I buy today are, my 26 unit was half a million. My 20 unit was $350,000, which is like the price of a condo in the Bay Area. So, but once again, all I knew was single family homes, right? Like, I wish I knew, or I had a course or a mentor that taught me about how to, get apartment complexes from A through Z out of state, right? It seems overwhelming for a beginner. And I was overwhelmed at the time, right? Like I thought it was impossible. So that's what inspired me to create my Making Multifamily Money course, which is an A through Z system to getting your first apartment complex, whether it's in the state you live or out of state. If you live in a high cost of living area like me, and just getting that baseline education and following that system. So I'm gonna put a link in the description of the course down below for those of you interested. And that's the reason why I did it, right? But I also want to emphasize that, just like you, I started in single family homes, just like everyone else. Everyone starts off in single family homes. Despite how much I may bash on it today, I did start off in single family homes, and even big people like Grant Cardone, he started off in single family homes too, but now he advocates doing apartments. So, so while I do advocate to you can go straight to apartment complexes and multifamily if you have a system and you have someone kind of mentor you through the way. But I also want to emphasize that I did get started in single family homes as well. So, hope you found value in learning about how I got my second single family home. Thank you so much.